Hello and welcome to the Dare to Differentiate live show. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, I am so delighted that you're here. Let me know in the comment whether you can hear me clearly. If so, type in a yes and let me know where you're from. I just want to make sure the audio is okay right now. Is the audio okay? Let's see here. Good? Okay. Just want to make sure things are going before I keep talking here because last week there were some audio issues. Are we good, Andrea? You can hear me? Perfect. Awesome. Okay, guys, I am so delighted that you're here today. The purpose of the show is to help you rise up, raise your standard, and reach your next level. Through weekly live trainings and guest interviews, my goal is to help you gain a career clarity, confidence, and a competitive edge. I'm your host, Diana YK Chan. I'm the founder of My Marketability, where I help ambitious professionals, leaders, and executives to stand out, get hired, and earn more. All right, welcome. We have many of you here. Thank you so much for being here, and I see many familiar faces as well. So speaking of earning more, this month's theme has been with a lot of my clients around self-confidence, self-worth, and negotiations, going into new roles. And I thought I would share some quick wins with you as well. It's been really busy over here. I have at least 10 clients this month getting job offers. And a couple that I'm really proud of this past week here is one, I had a client within 2 weeks of working together. She had 2 opportunities that she really wanted. And she just signed an offer yesterday, making over $30,000 more. She's thrilled. She achieved over 6 figures. She's so happy that we worked together. And the big thing was really helping her to own her greatness with confidence and to really sell her unique value. She felt that she was underselling herself for many, many years there. I have another client right now who just also received an offer in pharmaceutical sales in a next level manager role as well, is also in the middle of negotiations. But so far we managed to help her get a signing bonus and a higher base as well. So super proud there. And then I have another executive client who received a brand new tailor-made role in the tech industry, in a fast-growing tech company, in a business development partnerships role. So things are happening. Something I'm learning right now this past month is that the importance of really owning your worth and value, which ties into our topic today on awakening your career potential. You really have to sell your assets and your strengths and unique value to differentiate. And when it comes to increasing the earning potential, if you don't ask, you don't get. So you have to put yourself out there. So a little fun fact, because I have my guest speaker, Andrea, here with me today, who comes from the pharmaceutical industry background. I thought I would share with you, like when I was actually an agency recruiter, I recruited in the pharma industry. I recruited for roles in sales, in marketing, market access, medical affairs, training, HR, you name it. And interestingly, like I don't come from like a pharma background. I came from a recruiting background in digital sales at Google and recruiting for a top MBA school. So when I was recruiting in pharma, when I first started, I had to learn a lot about the terminology, the therapeutic areas, the diseases. I had no idea, like given like English is not my first language, I had to learn all that terminology. So I would not pretend to be an expert when I talk to candidates. I would just let them know that I'm in recruitment. I know how to look for great talent, but I don't know all these areas here. And my point here is this, the story here is the importance of really recognizing your transferable skills and what your superpowers are here. And it's okay, you don't necessarily have the knowledge or experience in an area, but be proud of the skills that you have and to really own that there. Okay, so welcome guys. So excited to have you guys here. I see a lot of familiar faces here. So I'm super excited to welcome our guest today. So a few things before we dive in here, a few housekeeping that some of you always ask. There will be a replay available. Feel free to check on LinkedIn or on my YouTube. I will be adding timestamps as well so that you can easily watch the replay and recording. And throughout, I like to engage with you all is to click like and comment anytime. Share your thoughts, key learnings, and questions with us. We're happy to answer your questions as well. And then lastly, I'm all about showing the appreciation and support. So share your kind words to show your support. Type in #GoAndrea. She's already backstage. She can see this. I believe this is her first live. So I want you guys to really give her the love and support. I know a lot of her friends and colleagues are here to support her as well. So just let's raise that vibration energy up and type in GoAndrea there. All right, so let me introduce you our guests. So Andrea Schwarz is an authentic, passionate leader with 20 years experience in the healthcare space. She recently made a bold and brave move and transition from the pharmaceutical industry she is known and loved into a new tech health industry as head of sales for TELUS Health. The last 10 years, she's held various leadership roles from regional to national level and has won local, national, and global awards. She's consistently transformed and built many high-performing teams. Andrea has an entrepreneurial spirit and love of people and learning, which has led her to seeking out her ICF coaching certification from Adler Graduate Professional School in 2020 and 2021. As a leader, mentor, and coach, Andrea's vision is to awaken people's passion and potential. She believes and encourages individuals to use their strengths and passion to reach their full potential. Andrea loves to be inspired and enjoys inspiring others to the fullest possible to be the best version of themselves. So are you guys excited and ready to have Andrea on the show? Let's welcome her to the stage here. Let's say go, Andrea.
Hi, Diana.
Hi, Andrea. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We connected just about a year ago, right? When you came to one of my training events just about a year ago through Women Leaders in Pharma.
Yes, I did. And I'm a big fan. So I've been following you ever since. So it's been great.
Oh, thank you. And I love that we stayed in touch through LinkedIn, through conversations. And I just love, it's interesting. I feel like in our circle as well, like I've been hearing about your name as well. And I have a lot of friends who work at TELUS. And so I'm so delighted to have you here. And I want to share with my audience as well why I want to bring you here, because a lot of clients I work with have been in the same industry or profession for quite some time. And there's often this fear of making that pivot. And I wanted to bring you on to showcase, inspire others that what is possible, that is certainly possible to make that pivot, to transition into another industry. So why don't we start off with some fun questions?
Sure.
What fulfills you?
Definitely, I would say what fulfills me is people and relationships. I love what I do. I'd say my family, my friends, my coworkers, it's definitely people and relationships. That's what fulfills me.
People, relationships. And what are your core values?
I love this question. I've worked hard to figure out what my core values are. Okay, my first one I would say is integrity. I always try and do what's right in everything I do. It's probably my number one core value. Inspiration, you said it in my introduction. I just love to inspire others, and I love to be inspired as well. Leadership, for sure. I think that's one of my core values. I'd say hard work and perseverance. I've always worked hard, and I really value that in myself and other people. And lastly, I wanted to say health, but I'm going to say more balance. I do really value balance. It incorporates health and all of that. So those are my core values. Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear that. Let's talk a little bit why is it important for people to know their core values? Because it's something I know we do in coaching.
Yeah. So it is, and I'll be honest with you, I think when people first talk about values, they think, oh, my family, my friends, but values are just anything that are really important to you. And I think as you go through life and you're making decisions, and it really helped me with this pivot, when you have that base on what your core values are, the decisions you make and the choices you make, if you align them with your values, you can't really make a mistake is the way I see it, because it's who you are.
It's who you are. You're absolutely right. How do we honor our values? And I always talk about the importance of knowing your values, strengths, and interests as your guiding GPS to figure out what's next in your career.
For sure.
Good. So let's talk about your story. This is the big story here. What's your pivot story? What were the highs and lows? What were the challenges? I would love to hear more about that.
Okay. And I think my story shocked a lot of people. That's why I keep calling it my big, bold, brave move. Okay. So as you said in the intro, I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for 20 years. Loved it. It's really, I'm very grateful for that experience. And, I spent my first 10 years really in sales roles, and I progressed into training. And from there, I went into a leadership role in 2010. And I've spent the last 10 years in a leadership role, and I've kind of progressed through that. And really enjoyed it. And I'd say about 2 years ago, I really started thinking about, I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or what it was, but I really started thinking about kind of what the next 10 years would look like and where I wanted to go. And I didn't have a lot of clarity on it because I loved what I was doing and I was super comfortable. And I ended up hiring a coach, actually, which really helped transform me. Like, it's probably the best decision I've ever made. And she really helped me get clear on where I was today and where I wanted to go in the future. And through that journey, I really started investing in myself, not really knowing where it was going to land, but I really wanted to know, like, what are my values? What are my strengths? And where do I want to go? And how do I get there? And through that journey, I wasn't looking to leave pharma because I wanted to progress my career. I knew that. I had clarity that I wanted to get to the next level. But through that self-discovery, I was very open with myself and curious. And TELUS kind of just landed on my lap. I was actually recruited through some of the enhancements I think I'd done on LinkedIn, through some of the personal development and networking opportunities. And it presented itself, and I was kind of curious. And I thought, I might as well check this out. I was curious. And through that process, they ended up making me an offer. And I'll talk more about it later, but it wasn't an easy decision because I was loving what I was doing, but it aligned with my values and where I wanted to go. And I went for it.
Oh, good for you. That's great to hear that. And I love that I'm hearing is, the opportunity present itself, but there were some things that you did in terms of enhancing your LinkedIn profile. I think you did that after attending my talk last year.
I totally did. I listened to it like, I really gotta upgrade that a little bit.
And by the way, guys, for those, if you're new to, if you're not connected to Andrea, I highly recommend checking out her LinkedIn profile. Like, you have one of the most authentic bio stories. Like, when I read it, I really feel who you are, your core values, what you stand for, what you care about. And that's something I talk a lot about as well. Like, and I think a lot of the traditional profiles, it's just like a quick highlight of a summary, of their statement, of their experience, but it doesn't get a sense of who you are. And from my experience too, when I recruited in pharma, I found a lot of the profiles are very bare bones. We're very bare bones in terms of the title. And so when I saw yours, like when you updated yours, it just really stands out. It really catches someone's attention there.
Thank you. Yeah, and I wanted it to be authentic. I think your resume, what you put in LinkedIn, kind of profiles that, but that about section is the only part that you can have some text words to really talk about yourself. So I put myself out there and I just told my story. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. So let's talk about some of the fears. How did you overcome your fears and pivoting? Okay. This is quite common. Let's talk about what the fears were. Okay. And then how did you deal with it?
So fear is an interesting thing because there is a statistic, I think it's 80 to 90% of what you fear actually doesn't come true. Okay. So I think a lot of people live in fear. And the number one thing that helped me pivot through my fear in this transition was really clarity. I remember when I was getting close to that kind of stage and I actually reached out to my coach and I was panicking a little bit, right? And she brought me back to, Andrea, these are your words. This is what you said. This is where you want to go. This is aligning with all of this. And I had clear direction that I wanted my career. I wanted a role that was more strategic, that was more of a senior leadership, where I was impacting people more. I really wanted a seat at that table where when people are making decisions about people, that I could have that voice. So I really felt this role was going to provide that. And I had that clarity. So that was number one. Number two, I'm going to say curiosity. And what I mean by curiosity is I had to really think about what was the worst case. I had to get that out of my mind. So that biggest fear. And a lot of people fear failure. I wasn't afraid of failure with this role because I really felt I had the skills and competencies from my previous role to be really successful here. That wasn't my fear. When I really dug at it, my number one fear was that I wouldn't like it. I was really worried because I loved pharma. So my fear was, what if I get into this and I don't like it? That was my biggest fear. And when I faced that fear and thought of the options of, well, if I don't like it, I do have 20 years. I could go back. I could pivot into something else. Like, I had to play that out. And then I went to the positives. I did the what if. So what if this is better for me? What if it's better for my family? What if it's going to open up more opportunities, for my career, all of that. So that was the second thing I did. The third thing I did is, and I talk about it, is bravery. I had to be brave and bold and step into it. And bravery is best friends with vulnerability. And I knew that this was a very vulnerable move for me because I didn't have all of the experiences, and it was new for me. But I wanted to live the talk. I talk all the time to people, and I just had to replace that fear with bravery and just go for it. So that's what I did. That's kind of how I overcame it.
Wow,
Yeah.
guys, there's some golden nuggets I want to just type in here. Replace fear with bravery.
Yeah.
You know, I talk about, make your why greater than your fears, but you're talking about courage here and bravery. And that's so important, I think. And I want to hear from you guys, for those who are considering a pivot. What are some of those fears? And it sounds like, just even acknowledging or recognizing the fears is important. Like that you recognize that, what if I don't like it?
Yeah.
And then you got curious about it. Like, hey, what ifs? What are the possibilities? Like, what if?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing with bravery, Diane, I want to say is it's actually a skill. So I had been practicing bravery the last year, like saying yes to things that scared the, what out of me. And as you practice it, it becomes a little bit not as scary. So yeah, it's hard.
Oh, saying yes to what you're scared. Oh my God, I love this. Let's type that. Saying yes to what you're scared. I have to tell you, like, I was so scared when I started doing lives last year. Like, I was shaking, even though I've done tons of presentations and webinars. But for some reason, like, the feeling is different because it's public, it's live. And I think it's just that also when I dig deeper, was just like that being seen and learning how to just really own it as well. So I love that you're talking about this, about bravery here. People are typing in here, bravery concourse fair. That's what another Andrea here said. I love this. I love this. Yeah. So let's talk about, in terms of the preparation. I know you talked a little about it, but if we can maybe walk through for people who are literally looking to make that transition, let's talk about how you prepared and what advice you have for those to prepare for this kind of like a pivot on there.
Yeah, I think my preparation started a few years ago, right? Like I was thinking of that career shift I wanted to possibly make and what would that look like. If people are thinking about doing it, the number one thing I recommend is that clarity piece. You need that. I think that's really going to help. Number two, you really have to figure out what your strengths are. And I kind of thought I knew what they were, but I didn't. I really had to do some self-reflection, and I worked with my coach and I did some assessments, and I got really clear on what my strengths were. So I highly recommend that. And you have to have goals. I love goals. I mean, I set a goal for myself last year about doing my certification for coaching. Goals really help ground you and hold you accountable. So I think if you start kind of, doing some self-reflecting and investing in yourself, that will help prepare you. And you might not know today where you're going to go or what you're going to do, but through that self-reflection journey, it'll help prepare you for the next phase.
Yeah, that's so true. It's been the consistent theme I'm hearing right now too, of when you're looking to make that pivot, is to have that self-reflection, self-awareness of what's really important to you before you make that next pivot. I talk about soul searching before job searching.
Oh, I love that, Diana. Yeah, right. It's true. It's true.
You have soul searching first before you make that big, bold move there, right? Yeah. So that's amazing. Anything else from so you talked about, I'm hearing the goals, the strengths. Can you talk about a little bit, maybe they're like the networking piece of what you had to do to help you prepare for the transition as well?
Yeah, the networking piece is an interesting one. So I've been doing this for 20 years. So my network is larger, right? Like when I started, my career at the beginning, it was smaller. So networking is really important. I do it very naturally. I love people. I love to reach out to people. I'm very generous with my time. I give more than I receive, which sometimes can be a bad thing, but I'm learning. And for some people who are very introverted, I know this can be a real challenge. You have to build that network, and it's some people comes more naturally than others. But I purposely craft time to network, and I do it in times where I'm driving or, I'm walking, things like that. But I think you have to put yourself out there, be generous with your time, help people. It does come back. It always comes back, because my network today is a lot different than it was 5 or 10 years ago. And I would focus on quality versus quantity. Right. So I have people in my network who build me up. I can see it, on some of the comments and before the call, like, you have this strong network within you and you help each other and you build each other up. So I really like to focus on quality versus quantity.
Yeah. Quality versus quantity, the networking.
Yeah.
I'm really big on networking. I know a lot of the clients I work with that I support, I'm all about being of service. And this is why I think you and I really connected as well. Like just having that service mindset, helping out each other, paying it forward, and really just focusing on like nurturing these relationships as well. You just never know what may unfold.
Exactly.
Right.
And don't be afraid to reach out to your network, right? Like I have people that call me that I haven't talked to in 5 years. And it's so great to hear from them, you know, especially during the pandemic and people have lost their jobs. So I think it's that fear. I think sometimes people are afraid of that, but people generally want to help people, especially during these times. And I have people calling me all the time I haven't talked to for years. And I always, you know, they were part of my life at one point and maybe have moved on, but they left an impact and I'll still help them. Right. So
absolutely. Absolutely. I have to say, like a lot of times, I mean, the comment, I think there was a research done too of how, like, you know, during this pandemic, people actually sheltered themselves in terms of networking because they feel like embarrassed to ask for help or to reach out. And so what advice do you have for those who feel like, you know, they want to reach out, but they just feel, you know, they just essentially the fear of that, like what's that baby step they could take?
I don't know. I think for people, I think the number one thing is people need to be clear on what their value is and what they can kind of offer people. For me, it's taken me time, but I'm kind of brand myself as the coaching, mentoring girl, right? Like I just love helping people. So I think it's the whole bravery piece, knowing your values. I would just push through that fear because I told 80-90% of what you fear doesn't happen. So when you reach out to those people, you'll be surprised. And you can leverage your network's network. That's another big thing. We see it in LinkedIn all the time. Like you're connected with this person. So, you know, I think if you just be authentic, take the approach, be brave, reach out to people. I don't know, especially during the pandemic, everybody's struggling. Like, I don't know. I just find everybody struggling and you know, we're doing this virtual thing. I haven't even met my team in 3D. I can't wait to do it one day, right? Like I was hired during this crazy pandemic. So I think people just have to push through it, know their values and strengths, and be open and be willing to share and help people because it always comes back. Yeah.
My ABC rule is always be connecting, always be cultivating, and always be curious.
Love it.
On networking. That's my principle.
I got to write that down.
Yep. Always be connecting, curious, and cultivating. That's my rule there. And you know what I'm hearing here? It's don't overcomplicate it. I find now, because I'm actually doing some talks on networking, is yes, there is like the targeted networking for job search, but people that you know, make it a conversation. Just keep it simple.
Just be authentic. Yep. Just be yourself. Yep.
Just be yourself. Right. So awesome. So guys, feel free to ask us questions as well. I have questions for Andrea here, but feel free to ask us questions. Like, what are you curious about there? We'd love to hear from you guys.
Sorry. My daughter, 1 second.
No problem.
Gotta love the live, see?
Exactly. Hey, gotta love the lives.
My teenager's home from high school.
So why is it important to invest in your personal and professional development?
Okay, so this is a great question. So I think it's like anything in life, and I'm going to compare this to my kids. So I have children and I always invest in them, right? Like I'm always investing if I see a skill that they're really great at, you know, I want to give them every opportunity and I'll do that. And what I've learned is, and I didn't necessarily invest in myself during those early years. Yes, I was very focused in my career and moving forward, but my own personal growth and development, it did kind of was on the back burner, I'll be honest. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago where I really started doing that. And as I started investing in me and, you know, trying to upskill and doing courses and, you know, even things in my career, it just started opening up doors. And it also ended up creating opportunities and increased my confidence. That was the biggest thing. I was shocked at how much when you invest in yourself, how it can play out, can build your skills, your strengths, all of that. So it's really important that we invest in ourselves. I really believe that. Part of the balance too.
It's true, right? Like
Yeah.
having something to look forward to grow. I'm really big on personal growth. Like I've been talking a lot about this since the beginning of
Yeah.
this year. Like every year I invest in something, whether it's a course, it's a
Yeah.
coach, program. And my husband challenged in whatever I invest in, he's like, just go perform, like, either make more
Yeah.
money or, do better in terms
Yep.
of reaching out of your comfort zone.
No,
So I think that's
exactly.
key. You know, what's interesting, I'm seeing right now with a lot of my, I guess, younger clients or mid-level clients, after I work with them, they're like, I wish I started earlier investing in
Oh,
myself.
I totally agree.
Like,
I can't
or
say
even my senior
I'm,
clients, like,
yeah,
I wish I started earlier in
yeah,
investing in myself.
yeah, totally agree with you on that one. I wish, even with the coach that I have, I tell people, I wish I did 10 years ago, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a financial thing, but it was worth it. And I always thought it was reserved for executives. It's not. It's for it's one of the
Oh,
biggest. Yeah,
yes. Oh, I'm
yeah,
so glad you're talking about this. Like, yeah, and
yes,
it's not just for executives. I feel like 10 years ago, a lot of people, even coaching was still relatively new. But
yes,
now I
yeah,
feel like I'm definitely seeing more younger professionals proactively investing in themselves, whether it's
yeah.
coaching, online training. So someone asked here, what are the initial steps to invest on me? So where can they get started?
I
What
would
is something?
start, yeah, I would start if you're going to invest. So when you're going to invest in yourself, you have to really know what it is you want to invest in. So you have to align it with what gives you energy and kind of what are your strengths and where you want to go. So for me, if I just use my example, I loved being coached by my coach. I love people. And I started thinking about it and I was like, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could go about and try and get my own certification. So you have to do that self-reflection to figure
Mhm.
out. You just don't want to throw, you just don't want to sign up for anything, but
Yeah.
align it with, some of your goals and strengths and where you want to go and invest. Because if you love it and you're passionate about it, you'll do well at it and it'll be worth the investment.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a client right now. She really wants to get better with her communication skills and presentation skills at work. So we talked about what else can she invest in
Yeah,
elevating that critical skill in the workplace there. Yeah. So
exactly.
tying
Yeah.
back into your goals there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing.
I got
So
my,
my next,
just one
yeah,
second, my dog's scratching again.
I love it. Brian's like, love the dogs.
Okay, now it's good. I should have known. It's always this time of the day.
Okay, so let's talk about, like, we're talking about investing now. Let's talk about what's the difference between a coach,
Yeah.
mentor versus sponsor? I think a lot of people are confused with that. So if we can maybe
Oh,
break
yeah.
this down, the difference,
Yeah.
and why is it important to have one for your career growth?
Okay. I love this question. Okay. So, first of all, I do believe, the whole parable about it takes a village. Like, it's really hard to move your career alone. Okay. So, let's be clear on that. And I think one of the biggest traps people fall in is they think my work should be enough, should show enough to kind of get to advance myself. And I'm going to tell a quick story because I learned this
Yeah.
kind of the hard way, very young in my career. So I'm very thankful for it. But when I first started in the pharmaceutical industry, I was up for Rookie of the Year and I didn't win it. And my boss basically told me after that, and I thought I deserved it, right? I had the highest sales, all of that. And it was basically, he said, well, there wasn't enough people in the room that knew you, right? Like there wasn't like people, I was just more introverted and quiet. So I learned that very early. It was very hard for me, but I'm very thankful for that experience because right away I knew I got to get people, on my side here and I have to figure this out.
Mhm.
So a coach, basically, a coach, like you said, it's really grown in popularity, I'd say in the last 10 years. But what a coach really does is they meet you where you are. They look at where you are today and where you want to go, and they help you close that gap. And it's your agenda. It's an objective third party, so it's not your spouse or your family or friends, and they really help you set goals to do that.
Yeah.
They're pretty easy to find. There's a lot of them out there. Diana, you're one of them, right? There's so many great coaches out there. The best way to find one is either through referrals, social media, all of that. And a lot of them do sample sessions. So you can actually have a quick session and see if there's that connection because you want to find the right fit. That's the most important. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a coach. So a mentor is different. So a mentor basically is somebody who is the voice of experience. Okay. and you would go to them for advice. They're a sounding board. They help you make connections. I have tons of mentors in my life, and the best way to find one, I'll tell you, is organically. I don't even tell them they're my mentor, right? Like even when I went through this career transition, I reached out to somebody that really helped me make the decisions, even when I was going through the contract, everything, like amazing. I couldn't have gone through it without that support. Yeah. So they're just that voice of experience, right? That's a mentor.
Yeah.
A sponsor, very hard to find. Okay, so a sponsor is somebody who's going to advocate for you. They have senior power, they have influence. They're really difficult to find. So you don't really find them, you have to attract them. That's the way I look at it. Okay, so and how do you attract a sponsor? Well, number one, you have to have stellar performance. You have to be a high performer. You have that has to be kind of your gate into it, right? The second way is I would look for sponsors who are have a track record for talent development. So, and I was able to find some of them through my career, and I kind of clung to those people because I knew they could help me, right? But I had to show my value. And if you can show your value, they'll come to you for help and support. They'll talk about you, behind the doors, all of that. And the other way you find them is start raising your hand. Get onto some committees or projects or assignments where you have those sponsors in the room that are seeing your value, seeing your worth, seeing your stellar performance, all of that. And that's how you attract them. And I believe you need all of that to kind of advance your career. And they're different. Everybody mixes them up.
They are. I don't hear people often talk about this. And I love that you're talking about this because there are 3 different roles.
Yes.
Right. That you play. Like to me, like the sponsor is someone probably internally at the company who is a bit more senior, who can champion you, advocate for you, talk about you behind the doors of when they want to promote you. Right. The mentor is someone you can really, like I said, force experience seeking advice. Someone who's been there, done that, and can guide you along the way, or figure out what to do next there. And then there's a coach, is you also being proactive, which is often coaching is more probably like a paid service where you would hire someone yourself to invest in your personal growth. So I love that you talked about these 3, and I'm curious to hear from you guys, the audience here, like, have you invested in a coach or have a mentor or sponsor? I had to give a shout out to one of my client here, Amin here. We just started, he's like, the best coaching investment ever is working with Diana. I love that. He's new to Canada, and he's like, he's already getting, like some results here. So I'm really super excited for him. So thank you for that feedback, Amin there. But that's amazing to hear that. So let's talk about how to find, you talked a little bit about it, but how to find the right coach, mentor, and sponsor to support your advancement there.
How to find them?
Yeah, how to find them.
So I think I mentioned about with a coach, I think I would start with referrals. It's becoming so popular. A lot of people are investing in them. I mean, I tell everybody about my coach, and so referrals is kind of the best way. There are organizations as well that you can kind of find that actually have a list of different coaches. The ICF has a list of them on it as well, the International Coach Federation. But my best advice, and you can follow them on all the social medias and things, and you'll kind of get a flavor for who they are and what they kind of specialize in. And I just recommend doing a sample session, right? And find the fit. So that's a coach. I think they're pretty easy to find. Finding a mentor, again, organically, I do it. It's the number one thing. I just kind of find people, and I try to, and I have different mentors for different areas. I have older women that are mentoring me through the teen years now with my kids. I have, my mom is a big mentor of mine. My mother, I grew up in a home where my mother raised 4 children on her own and had to go back to work. We had people flowing in and out of our house all the time looking for advice from my mom. Even today, she has people knocking on her door. She's amazing. I kind of grew up like that. But she really encouraged me to get involved with like peer-to-peer networking groups, but align it with what you're passionate about. So I'm on the Women Leaders in Pharma, and I'm building out a coaching and mentoring program because I'm passionate about it and I love it because it doesn't drain your energy, right? So there's a lot of organizations, and through that, you can find mentors in the peer-to-peer groups, social media, all of that. Sponsors, again, it's such a tricky one, but I have 3 tips for sponsors because I think it's really important and it's hard to find them. You have to make your values visible, okay? So mine was always coaching and mentoring. And one of the ways I attracted a sponsor before was in helping her team with doing some of the business and things, because she saw me as a leader in that and helping to coach and mentor, right? So you have to show your value, make it visible, have clear goals and where you want to go and what you want to do, and share it with leaders. You have to be, if people don't know you're interested and you're not sharing it, when rules and things come up and are being posted, your name should be at the table already, right? It's really hard. So that's kind of how you attract the sponsors. And so you have to work at it. And it's not easy. It's I'm the first one. Maybe it's easier for me because of my personality, but I wasn't always like this. I've had to learn over 20 years. And, you know, because I am more introverted, people find that very shocking, but I am. And I've had to really work at it. But when I've aligned it with who I am and I'm true to my strengths and my values, it's easy, right?
Yeah. I love this. And I just want to capture some key learnings for our audience here. What I'm hearing through this too, like one, you have to have that wanting to invest in yourself and like being intentional about it. And second, I think with the mentor and sponsor, you have to be networking and nurturing those relationships, and you have to showcase your value. You have to speak up as well. If you don't speak up of what you want, it's hard for others to advocate for you there. And what I'm noticing too, especially like, you know, with a lot of clients I work with is, you know, just, and it actually ties in our next question in terms of, it's like how to be confident in showcasing your worth and value, so that you increase your earning potential, but also just opportunities. And I do find, the reason I'm asking this question is I do find, I would say especially women as well, have a hard time owning their own worth and value, or they just say, oh, that's just my job, or like, oh, is that too much bragging? And I really want to talk about this, because if we really want to advance to the next level, like we have to get over this limiting belief.
I totally agree. Okay, confidence. Can we talk about this?
Yeah, let's talk about it. The hot one.
Okay, so where I want the audience to do this, I think it will really help. I want people to think of somebody in their life who is extremely confident. Just picture that person, because I have like 5 of them I can think of. And when you think of that person, what is it about them that is bringing that portrayal of, wow, that person is so confident? And just think of that person, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I think the number one thing with confidence is actually, it's not even what you say or what you do, but it's your body language. And I'll give you an example. And people don't know this, because a lot of people haven't met me, but I'm actually 6 feet tall, okay? So a lot of people don't know this because it's such a virtual crazy, okay? So it was one of my coworkers said this to me, said, Andrea, when you walk into a room, you have such a presence. And I didn't own it. Like I was always slouching, and, you know, it's really, I'm being very authentic here, but I've really struggled with being so tall. And it wasn't until I was a lot, you know, more mature and senior, and I met my amazing husband who's 6'4". I'm like, I'm going to stand proud, right? And somebody said to me, you have this presence, and I can walk into a room with my body language and just the way I present myself, I can come across confident without even saying anything. So I think number one, and you could think of those people, you know, they have great posture, they're confident. You don't have to be 6 feet tall. You can be 5 feet tall and be very confident, right? Yeah. So body language is number one. Yeah. Number two is really the positive self-talk. I think you get that inner critic coming in a lot, and you have to really fight through it and eliminate that negative language. And I do that what if a lot, like when I'm nervous or I'm going to go do a presentation, people are like, what if I do terrible? What if I fail? You have to start the positive talk, right? Like, this is going to be great. I'm going to do a great job. You know, what if I can inspire people? What if I can teach people things? Like, you have to really replace that. The other thing with your strengths is you need to with confidence is you have to really play to your strengths. Because as you play to that's where your confidence comes from. Like, I'm really great, own it. Like the things that you're great in, own it and be proud of it, right? And stretch yourself outside your comfort zone. Because, and my husband's gonna kill me because I'm gonna tell this story. He's gonna kill me. He's so quiet. So recently he got promoted the same time I did to a fire captain role, okay? And he's quieter and all of that. He came back from he was so nervous. He came back from his first shift because his responsibility shifted greatly. He came back and he walked in the house and he was like so proud of himself. He had like swagger. And I said to him, I go, He's like, yeah, like I got my first couple calls over with. I started to get more confident. He had this swagger about him. It was that body language, everything. So I think when you're stretching yourself outside your comfort zone, every time you do it, you're going to be so proud of yourself and your confidence is going to increase.
Oh,
So those
I
are some key
love it.
ways, I think. And think of those
I love
people,
it.
and I want you guys to think about those people that are confident, because those people typically have great body language. They're doing the positive self-talk. They're stretching themselves. They're playing to their strengths. They're doing all of those things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what you're saying here, like it's the impact, right, that you have on
Yeah.
others. Andrea wrote here, hashtag own your superpower. Absolutely. Right.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. What is your superpower?
what is your superpower? And
Yeah.
93% of your message and impact is based on that nonverbal, which is the body language and your tone of voice as
Yeah.
well. I was actually just talking to someone yesterday, as a potential client. He's getting interviews, but not closing. And he's at the director level. And I could tell instantly from his tone of voice that he was lacking the confidence. He didn't sound confident. And I said, that's something we're going to have to really work on in terms of the voice and the presence that would help them move forward as well. So that's key. I'm going to quickly summarize what you said because there's a lot of gems here.
Yes.
Hashtag presence is important.
Yeah.
Posture, positive self-talk.
Yes.
All right. That's really important. Those are the key. And then also your superpower, right?
Yep. Totally
Knowing
agree.
all those is so important, and being confident, showcasing your worth. And actually, I'm going to talk a little about this with you because I have this question about so that you increase your earning potential. What I'm seeing right now as a coach, okay, and it's crazy.
Tell me.
Like this is what I'm seeing. Like because the last 2 weeks I've been coaching clients to negotiate a higher salary, and I said to one of my clients yesterday, I'm like, be firm, be confident, make the ask.
Yeah, that's very true.
Be firm, be confident, make the ask. If you don't make the ask, the answer is going to be no, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't state your value of why you deserve more, they won't see that either.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, Diana. And I think I had a lot of coaching and mentoring through my process. And I went to somebody who was extremely confident. Like, I'm like, you're so confident. Like, and he's like, you're going to practice this with me and you're going to be confident and you're going to do this. And I did, right? Like practice it, be confident. So
you're absolutely right. You got to practice it. And like, literally, I'll tell you, like yesterday I had a call with a client, like a 20-minute call. I coached her literally 5 minutes before her call of negotiation.
Yeah.
And she basically got $30,000 more.
Oh my goodness.
That one crazy call that we had.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
She just couldn't believe it. And then, she's told me like her whole life has been like undervaluing herself. Like she said she probably would have accepted the offer had we not had the conversation.
Yeah.
And so if you don't put that ask, it's always going to be no. But one thing I do want to highlight here is I always ask a question, like for those who are the job seekers here, it's like, what's the reason why they're hiring you? Knowing why are they hiring you and knowing what is your competitive edge.
Yep.
Right. When you know why they're hiring you and what is your edge, that is your leverage.
Yeah,
okay.
Totally agree.
And another way to leverage, I talk about the leverage strategy here, is if you have another opportunity at hand, you can use that as leverage as well. I have seen time and time again that when you tell that employer that you're expecting another offer, oftentimes they're going to want you and like this make a better offer to close you there.
Yep, very true, Diana.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Danielle here said confidence is important, but there's a difference between confidence and arrogant. Can you maybe comment a little bit on what you see the difference between confidence versus arrogant?
Yeah, I think again, I would really get people to think a little bit about those people that they're envisioning that are confident and not arrogant, because there's a big difference, right? Like I'm not a fan of arrogance at all. It's probably one of my values too, but there's something about somebody who walks into that room and starts talking with the confidence, their demeanor, what they're saying. Arrogance to me, it's also what they're saying, right? So I think you have to really just envision that person. And if you are confident in your strengths, like what you're saying, Diana, in your superpower, that's not arrogance. That's the way you were designed, the way you were built. It's who you are, and be confident in that. There's a big difference. Arrogance, actually, I think a lot of people that are arrogant they're not confident, actually. They might come across that way, but they're very insecure. Like when you have confidence in security and who you are and your strengths and your values, I think some of the people that show arrogance, they're not as confident, and their self-esteem. I don't know. I think people, you just have to have, I also have pretty high EQ. Like I can read people really well, and I've worked hard at that, but I think it's those softer skills that you have to really work at too and understand.
Oh, the soft skills are so key. A lot of people have been talking about it right now with all the changes that are happening, that soft skills are more important than ever there. I like to also think about the difference of, what you're saying, the confidence is self-awareness. And then when I think of from a selling yourself standpoint, is really think about the impact that you have of how you're being of service, the difference you're making versus just all about you, right?
Yeah,
so then
it's the value.
It's the value and the
impact. It's the value and the impact that you bring. Exactly. Yes. Totally agree.
Yeah. So that's where the confidence. So I want to move in to talk about what hiring managers look for, because I know I want to talk a little bit about your experience in hiring, recruiting.
Yeah. And I love hiring. I love hiring. It's like one of my favorite things.
How to stand out.
I have high standards too. I love hiring. I love going through the process. I think because I just love meeting people and learning about their story and hearing it from their voice and all that. So I'll just reflect on my 10 years and my hiring experience, but what I look for people. So when people are kind of coming to that interview for the first time and they're sitting down with you, they pretty much know you have the skills and competencies because you've made your way to that point, right? So that is really an exchange to say, do I like this person? Are they the right fit? Do their values align with mine and the organization? You're really trying to assess that. So your soft skills really have to come into play here. But a couple of tips I have to how to stand out. Number one is you really have to know more about the company than anybody else. Because if I interview people who are coming forward for a role and they don't know anything about the company or the role, they won't make it to the next level, right? So that's the number one thing I would say. Number two, again, there's a common theme here, but what is your value proposition that you bring? Be very clear on that when you're meeting with people through the hiring process. Be clear on what your values are. And number three, I would say just be authentic and be yourself. I know it's probably hard to do sometimes in that context, but you, when you're going through that process, you want it to be just as good of a fit for you as the person on the other side. So I always just go in and be myself. I want to see people like that, be who you are, and have that connection. You have to find a connection. And I have one other tip, Diana, that I love for hiring people that reach out to me when they're interviewing.
Yeah.
Make a list, I would say a top 5 list of what are the top 5 things that you are most proud of in your career and your accomplishments. Because as you're being asked the questions through the interview, you want to be able to pull in that value that we're talking about, what you're most proud of, and be able to talk to it. Because it's really upsetting when you leave an interview, you're like, oh, I forgot to tell them about this great accomplishment I had, right? Just make a list so you have it in front of you. So as you're going through it and you're trying to think of ideas, you kind of have it there to help you, and it guides you, and it's your strength, it's your core, what you're proud of, and your strengths. And be confident too, and be positive and positive. Yeah. Those are kind of the things I look for. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I love that you're reinforcing, essentially selling what makes you awesome, what makes you great, right? Totally. When you talk about the value,
be proud of it. Yeah,
and be proud of it, right? I just I shared a video earlier this week of like what makes you awesome, what makes you an awesome candidate in interviews, and I talked about the 3 things of showcasing who you are, which is your personality, character, and strengths, and your values, which is you're talking about. What do you have to offer, which is like your knowledge, skills, and experience and expertise.
Yeah.
Right. And then what's your track record of success, which is like your proud accomplishments and your results and your impact and the benefits of hiring you. And so if you can map these things out and own it and speak about it with confidence, it's very compelling and persuasive.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree with you.
So someone asked earlier, what are the techniques for self-talk?
Play the what if. I love the what if game. So there's lots of different ways, and trust me, my inner critic comes in a lot too. It can come, and again, I try to surround myself by positive people and people that are going to build me up. So if that inner critic is coming in, don't be afraid to get on the phone with somebody that really cares about you and have them kind of say that's not true and kind of help talk you out of it, right? Get out of the negative, like look at it, face it. Okay, this is the worst case. Like, honestly, what's the worst case, right? And then move right into the positive. Like, just start telling yourself all of the things that you know that you're strong at, your values. You know, if you've kept cards from people, notes from people, I don't know, any of those things, like bring all that positivity back into you, because it's there. It's just sometimes we get so stuck in the negative, it's hard to get out of it. So yeah. Do the what if. What if it's better for me? What if I do a great job, you know?
I love that. That's the what if. I'm going to do more of that. Like, what if?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah. You know, one of my other clients who's a coach as well too, she asked, like, what's the worst case scenario? I like to ask that too. Like, what's the worst case? And you realize it's not that bad.
Nope. Yeah, you got to go there, and don't spend too much time in it, right? Like, it's like, that's the thing with the inner critic, is you can, you know, look at it, face it, but get right out of it. Do the whole even the gratitude stuff. Everybody talks about it right now, especially during the pandemic. But I do try and do, especially when I'm not feeling that great, and I'll start writing down. It's amazing when your brain and you shift it to the positive things and the things you're grateful for. There's so many things to be grateful for, right? And you have to really focus on it, write it, reflect, do all those things.
It's a reflection. I just started something this year, is like success journal. I learned that from another coach last year, of having success journal to track your progress and accomplishments as well, so that you know how far you've come along. So guys, I want to hear from you guys. Like, you know, what's resonating? What questions do you have? This is such a juicy topic. I want to hear from you guys, what you have here. Andrea, I want to ask you about how to adapt and thrive in your new role in industry.
Oh, that's such a good question.
I have to tell you, since the pandemic, I've noticed with a lot of my clients, after they got a job, we've been spending more time afterwards on how to thrive in the new job because of COVID and the virtual world. What are some of your tips and advice? What have you found has worked for you?
Yeah. So, and the one thing I want to say to people too, and I probably haven't stressed this, is transitioning from an industry I had known for 20 years over to this new role. Yes, it was a big, bold, brave move, but it wasn't like, because it was still healthcare, it didn't seem as big of a deal. Like, it wasn't like I was going from pharma into, like, say, finance. So there was a little bit of comfort zone there, but it was still a new industry, right? So the first thing I would recommend to people is be okay with being outside your comfort zone, because it's going to feel awkward. You know, like I struggle even now, because there's so many things I'm learning. I'm like, I miss my comfort zone. Like, I miss that powerhouse, you know, what I was doing before. And it's so new, but I keep reminding myself that this is how you grow and stretch, right? Like, I'm doing things now and learning things I've never done before. And it's amazing, right? So it's okay to be outside your comfort zone and give yourself grace for that and be okay with that. I would start networking right away. Like, people know how to do it. I think you have to, when you start a new industry, I don't, like, if I would have switched into pharma, I probably would have known people, but here I don't know anybody, right? So I've had to work really hard at starting to build my network right away. And just be authentic, be yourself, and be clear on your value proposition. I keep bringing myself back to why they hired me and what my strengths are, because that's why I'm here, and I'm here to do a job. And they hired me because of that, and I'm holding true to that. So be confident in that, right? You have transferable skills, right? You can transfer skills from one industry to another, but you're going to miss your comfort zone. You're going to be stretched. That's how you're going to learn and grow. And just, as long as you're aware of that, you can be successful, right?
Yeah, embrace the discomfort. I mean, I love what you're saying here is I totally lost my thought here, but I am. It's just I feel like what I'm hearing is also having just that curiosity mindset as well,
very
like
curious,
something new.
Learning mindset, beginner mindset. Yeah, all of that.
Oh, I remember what you just said here is actually reminding yourself why you're hired. So this is what ties into imposter syndrome. If you ever feel in doubt or why you got hired or whatever, if you can remind yourself why you were hired for this job, that will help you with that, you know, that doubt or imposter syndrome as well.
Yeah, when I went through the process, they were really strong on my strengths. Like, they saw my value and they were so focused on that. There were things that I didn't meet on the criteria, but they weren't focused on that. They were so focused on my strengths, because those are skills that I could learn, which was great to see, right? And, the other thing I'll say is some people won't apply for a position because they feel they don't have everything it takes. And actually women are worse than men for this. It's statistically known. Men will apply for jobs that, they're maybe 60% qualified for, but women will do it if they're only 90%. So I encourage people, right? Like look at it and, use your network if it's something you're interested in and go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a great question here. How to decide if it's a good move for you, for someone taking a role out of comfort zone, but which has a prospect for better growth? That's a good question. Like, how do you know if it's the right move, I guess?
I don't think you will know till you're into it. I'll be honest with you. let's be honest here. So, and that was my kind of going along with that. I was worried about
what if you don't like it?
What if I don't like it? And somebody also asked a question about fear, and I'd like to answer that, or failure. I want to answer that too in a second. But I think it's just one of those things that if you're going to make a move outside your comfort zone, I really wanted to grow and be stretched. Like that was kind of my motivation. I was ready for it. I felt restless. I loved my job. I just felt a little restless and I wanted more. And that was kind of my driving force to make the decision. And I honestly did not know if it was going to be a good move until I got into it. But that was part of the risk that I was taking and part of the boldness and being brave. But I played that scenario of, if I don't like it, I'll figure it out, right? Like I was confident enough in my skills and my abilities that I would be able to maybe pivot again if I had to. So you're not, I honestly, you're not going to know till you do it.
I mean, one thing that I like to provide guidance to my clients when they're making that pivot is, are you moving closer to where you want to go or further? Right. So in your case,
great point.
Right. Is it closer or further?
Yeah.
In your case, you're moving close. I feel like because what I'm hearing is you want a challenge, more responsibilities, something different as well. So there's that alignment there of what you're moving towards. Yeah. And I think a big part going back is do you get to leverage your strengths? Does it align with your values? Does it align with your interest as well?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what my coach helped me with when I was freaking out because she kept reminding me of, this is what you told me, Andrea, where you wanted to go, she had to remind me because I was getting caught up in that fear, right?
Yeah. Another question here is, how do you quickly build credibility and trust in a new organization?
Oh, trust is so critical. Like, it's like, if you do any sort of leadership training, all of those, trust is like the number one. You have to build credibility and trust. And you build trust with time. I believe it. I don't think you just get trust right away. So that's the whole thing. My encouragement would be, when you're building your network, like when I started my job here, the first thing I did was I reached out to everybody. I'm like, I got to start to build trust quickly. I have to talk to people. I have to spend time. That was my priority, right? So you build it by being authentic, being true to yourself, reach out to people. You want people, trust is something that's earned. I believe that it comes with time, but you have to put the time in to build that trust, and you have to work at it. But you can do it. People can do it. It's just, you have to really work at it. And it's critical. It's the effort. It is the effort, and it's time. Yeah.
Well, actually, I want to ask you about this is, I don't know if you have, in terms of a stricter way of how you do it, but the balance between, I guess, building those relationships internally versus doing the actual work.
No, I know, it's so hard. So I believe that if you take care of people, they take care of the business, right? So it's just my leadership. I love people. I want to take care of people. Anybody that's been under my leadership knows this. Like, I try and put it right at the top. So if you do have to have the balance, Diana, and I'm especially in this more senior role that I'm at right now, I have to really work hard at doing the work versus getting caught up in all of that. But it's so critical. So you have to have that foundation. I think once you have that foundation with the people and build those relationships, you can do the work and leverage those people to help you too, right? Like, there's so many people that I'm working with, their strengths are incredible. And I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'll reach out for support to get some of the work done, especially in this new industry. Again, you got to be brave and vulnerable. Like, I'm vulnerable with these people. Like, help me here, right? Yeah. So I think you just have to it's that whole theme of the bold and bravery and all of that. So
I love this. That's your mantra.
I know.
That's your mantra. I love it. I love it. So for those who are looking to get to that next level, what's your
Yeah.
advice for them in terms of developing their leadership skills?
People have to. So first of all, I'm going to go back to it. Don't expect your work to be the driving force, right? You need people around you to support you. You need to build your confidence, build your strengths and skill set. Don't be afraid to upskill. People are doing it right now, especially during COVID, right? I think as you invest in yourself, it gives you a competitive edge. Like, I love getting a resume with somebody you can see it on their resume. You can see the work they're doing, not only in their job, but in themselves. Those are the type of people that you want to attract, right? So I just encourage people and pick things that you like, that you want to do. That's because it's energy. Everything's energy right now. We're being sucked energy like crazy in this virtual world. So it's something I'm struggling with, is what really gives me energy. So as you're doing those things, make sure it aligns with things that are going to give you that energy and build your confidence.
Yeah. It's all about alignment. Alignment with your energy and all that, right? That's so true here.
Yeah.
I have a question here. I'm not sure if this is something you want to tackle here. This one I'm from Janine
I can't
on
see.
how to have you in your career lost trust in others or others and how do you handle
My dog's crying again. 1 second.
Yep.
Sorry, Diana. So
no
what?
problem.
Sorry, what's the question? How do you, if you've lost trust?
Yeah, your career lost trust, leaving or be let go from organizations or be let go from organizations. I guess more is from an advice standpoint. If someone feels, I'm guessing if I had to look at it, because I see this a lot, is basically they don't feel valued, right? That they were seeking to get a promotion and couldn't get it. I hear this a lot, right? That they were looking to get that promotion and they feel they lost that trust because they were promised something, but they didn't get that. Mm-hmm. How would you deal with that there?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, in my career, it's happened to me, right? Like, I think it happens to all of us, and it's that resilience piece. Like, it's what do you do with that when you're faced with that? The way I look at it is, like, I'll give you an example. When I was first trying to be a manager, I applied like 3 or 4 times before I got that role, right? Like, but I was very resilient. I was very thankful for the opportunity. It's your attitude and how you position it. There's great people out there. Competition is fierce. Don't lose sight of where you want to go and what you want to do, and keep building your strengths, keep building your skill sets to get there. Because I do believe that, for me, when I got my first management role, I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of being in the right place, the right time, all of those things. So I love resilience. I don't really care when people are at the top of their game and doing really well. The true reflection of somebody is when you're not at the top of your game, you've been knocked off. How do you pick yourself back up? What does that look like? That resilience, that's what, and you'll track people, right? You can tell that story. And I tell the story all the time, right? So it's hard because, and I've seen it, I've interviewed people for roles where I've had 2 really great candidates and I got to pick one, but that doesn't mean 2 years down the road, or I move companies or whatever, I'm not going to call that person. So don't think it's wasted effort or energy. It's probably not the right time. It maybe wasn't the right fit. You have to be resilient and keep trying. It doesn't mean you weren't a great candidate. Like, I've been in that position on the other side. I've had a really tough decision and I don't know if it's the right one, but I'm like, I wish I had 2 spots because I would hire both of them. So I think sometimes people are so hard on themselves, but be grateful, for the opportunity. I was always had that. I'm so grateful for the opportunity and I kept at it. I pushed through it and it did come through for me. Right.
Yeah. I'm so glad you share this from a hiring manager's perspective.
Yeah,
that sometimes it boils down to like the final 2, you can only pick one, and it's so
really hard. Yep. Right? It's really hard. And
something's missing or something's wrong with me.
And I tell people, like, I'm very honest to say, like, I'm not just saying you're a strong candidate. Like, I wish I had 2 positions, and it's happened where I haven't hired somebody and I have 2 years later. Right. So that's building your network, keeping in touch, all of those things. Right. Yeah,
I love that. I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm hearing is what's your attitude, how you respond to it. I have, like, when I was at Google, there were only certain spots as well. And, a few years later, after I left, people that are rejected got hired back. And to me, it's how you respond, your attitude, how you stay in touch that could get you hired back as well if you're at the right fit there, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Absolutely. So I'm curious to hear you get from you guys, like as we wrap up here, like what's your biggest takeaway? I feel like there were so many golden nuggets and gems here that Andrea shared with us today. So many. So if you can type that us, what your key nuggets are, that would be amazing. I'd like to have some key takeaways for all of you. So Andrea, for those who are looking to pivot, what's your advice for them? Where to start?
So, and it's going to be a common thing because I keep saying it, but be very clear on what you want to do, where you want to go. And for me, I thought the pivot was going to happen in my industry, but it actually happened outside, which is great, right? So be open, have that learning mindset, and be open to other possibilities. Get clear on your value proposition. What is your superpower, right? What is it about you? Why you? Be very, very clear on it, own it, and keep investing in yourself, because through the investing in yourself and building on your skills and competencies, it doesn't have to be financial. You can get involved with organizations, volunteering, all of that. Your confidence will build and doors may open that you may not otherwise thought. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Clarity first, right? That it's so important to give it that direction, right? Look at all the comments coming in, Andrea. What if positive thinking? 89% of your fear won't happen. Have goals and invest in yourself to set yourself up for future success. Oh, I love the difference between coach, mentor, and sponsor. Be brave and vulnerable. That's so good. Right? You hear these key learnings. I love that you're really sharing your real life experience as well, right? Like from working in corporate, what it's like being, someone who made that pivot, but also who's done the hiring. And I really love that you're so passionate about coaching, mentoring, developing others. I really think right now, with the world, that we're into, when we're talking about soft skills, it is really having that curious mindset at the end of the day. Adaptability and leadership skills are some of the top skills that employers look for these days.
And if I wasn't curious, I wouldn't be where I am today. It was just that curiosity. Right? I'm like, what's this? Like when I, right? And just being really open. I was open, and I was happy where I was. So it wasn't like I was actively looking, but I was just curious, and it worked out, right?
Oh, that's a theme. Curiosity. Right? Having that growth mindset. Amazing. This is so good. So what's your final words of encouragement?
I think my final words of encouragement to people would be to please keep stretching yourself outside your comfort zone. I know that's for me, my biggest learning. Even saying yes to this, Diana, right? Like, I'm just going to say yes. But you have to, put your hand up when other people aren't putting their hand up. Just be brave, be bold. And with that, there's vulnerability that goes with it, and be authentic and be yourself. That would probably be my final. Just keep stretching yourself. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, do it, go for it. Because on the other side of it, every time I stretch myself, I come out on a high. I've learned something and I'm just so proud of myself. Right. So, and I want that for everybody. I'm always encouraging people that I work with or that report to me. I'm trying to bring opportunities forward. Just do it, try it, go for it. I'll support you. Build that network around you of support. Surround yourself by positive people. Quality versus quantity. I could keep going. I'll stop.
I love your attitude and advice. I love this. I want to ask you guys, a takeaway, what's one thing you're going to do to stretch out of your comfort zone? Like that action item here, what's the one thing you can do? I have to share with you, with me, Andrea, one thing I really stretched myself this year is storytelling. And just telling more of my story, being more vulnerable as well. And for me, I have a huge value for connection, inspiration. And I just really want to make an impact just by sharing my struggles and story to help other people. And that's been something I'm stretching out of my comfort zone this year.
And you're being vulnerable doing it, Diana. So I just want to acknowledge that because that's what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Right. It requires me to, and this is the reflection work, right? Knowing yourself as well to make an impact. Amazing. So where can people find out more about you or connect with you, Andrea?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn would be great because I'm starting to learn it and get a little bit better with it. I have started just an Instagram page on Andrea Schwarz Coaching. You can follow me there. I'm just starting it. I'm just going to try to continue to kind of inspire and help people. So connect with me. Feel free. I love connecting with people.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So guys, make sure to connect with Andrea on
Yeah.
LinkedIn or on her Instagram. Let her know that you were on this live as well. Let her
Yes.
know like what you enjoyed about the show here. So thank you so much, Andrea. This was
Yeah.
so
Thank
fun
you.
having you. I really appreciate it. I think you shared some really great advice
Yeah.
from pivoting to investing in yourself to how to thrive in your new role and career. So thank you for your time and
No
insights. And
problem.
I look forward to staying in touch with you as well.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity and encourage me to stretch myself again. So thank you, Diana.
My pleasure.
And
You take
thanks,
care.
everybody. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, this was so good. Oh my gosh, we have my other speaker, Tiffany, here as well. Thank you so much for being here as well. A lot of great familiar faces. This was so good. I love just bringing on speakers to learn about their story, learning about their experience and insights. It's so much fun. I hope you really got a lot out of this, and really like stretch outside of your comfort zone. So we're end of month of February already, guys. Like 2 months into 2021. Where has time gone? I can't believe it. So next week, first week of next Friday, yes, March 5th, I am doing a brand new talk on planning your career strategically. So I'm going to walk you through a framework on evaluating your career move. So join me on that. I will have that info up this weekend there. And then the week after is International Women's Days on March 8th. So I'm doing a bigger show March 12th, where I'm bringing on, is it 6 or 7 now? I think 6 or 7 speakers to come talk. And the show is on own your voice, value, and visibility. So I'm going to have speakers, women of color, to come talk about courage to change careers, voicing your uniqueness, on all these topics. I'm going to have like 20-minute conversations with them. So I hope you guys will join me. All this information will be up this weekend as I'll be putting all that together. And I know month of March is Women's History Month. So I'm going to be bringing on more female speakers as well to celebrate and honor them there. Thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate your support. If we're not connected yet, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel or connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Instagram as well. And feel free to share this with others there. All right. So you guys have a wonderful weekend. You take care. Bye now.